Previously on Down to Earth, land rich in gold and arsenic in France's southwest. A century of intensive mining, 10,000 years of pollution.
There's some arsenic in there, a lot of junk.
The mine's trash buried at the residents' doorstep, and a leak that's spreading contaminated water into the valley.
No longer the expression sweeping dust under the rug, it's criminal behavior.
October 2018, and a double blow for the residents of the Orbiel Valley. Flash floods reaching 7 metres, 15 deaths, dozens injured. In the village of Orbiel, hundreds of thousands of euros of damage. The primary school built beside the river no longer exists.
Here we had 2 meters of water. All the furniture was flooded, full of mud and leaves. We only had one option, take everything and throw it away.
The region's waterways have long been laden with arsenic, and there's fears the floods carried toxic particles and dispersed them more widely across the valley. High in the hills, there's a potential source for the problem, a site where mining waste has been discarded over several decades.
Here we are at the summit of Narteau. This is a storage site for arsenic, almost pure, and even right now, my nose is starting to sting.
The authorities have never measured exactly what's inside this site, but admit there's quantities of lead, zinc and arsenic. At the foot of the hill lies the river, the same river that overflowed in October.
Now this site is here exposed all of the year, but what happened following the floods?
During the floods, this site was washed by the water, a bit like the flush of a huge toilet. The water rose 8–10 meters, and as a result it carried with it material from the foot of the hill, which was then taken by the river. The toxic particles were carried 5, 10, 20, 40 kilometers from here.
Further downstream, the traces of the flood are still visible. Philippe Berard is a chemistry professor and researcher commissioned by the local paper to take samples across the valley. His results show the arsenic is certainly present.
It was here at this spot that we measured the highest concentration, 100 micrograms of arsenic per liter of water. It's a lot. If we consider other countries, I often go to Vietnam, well, when we find 100 micrograms per liter, we start to worry.
The state authorities have accepted Philippe's results, although they still haven't published any of their own. This scientist says he would be very careful if he lived in the region, and it's not only the water he's concerned about.
Here we're in a windy area, so the particles are going to be released into the atmosphere. There are 2 things to consider: transport by water, which is what we've just seen, but also through the air, which is not negligible and hasn't been looked at in this area.
So you're also wondering, what levels of arsenic are dangerous? Well, the WHO says 10 micrograms per litre for drinking water, 100 micrograms per litre for irrigation, which you might remember is exactly what our researcher found here. So it's clear that the waterways in the area are contaminated, even if they're still far from the dose that's immediately lethal for humans.
But can this type of pollution cause a slow death? As a renowned expert on the topic, Annie Tubelmoni is convinced the people of the Orbiel Valley are in danger.
The limit of 100 micrograms for watering vegetables, from my point of view, means it's accepted that there will be a certain number of cases of cancer triggered in 10, 20, 30 years. Obviously, they will never be associated with irrigation using contaminated water. It is contaminated water. We have to call it by its name. We are sure that arsenic is a very dangerous pollutant, and all of this population captive to arsenic pollution in the Orbiel Valley is now at a very high risk of cancer.
In the village of Orbiel, the gardens and houses were invaded by the floodwaters.
There I had potatoes. Now there's nothing. It's wasteland.
Bernadette normally grows vegetables the whole year round, but not this year. The floodwaters dumped mud all over her garden, mud that's almost certainly polluted.
My soil is actually really good. You can see by the quality of the grass. But in terms of pollution, I don't know. I'm not going to grow anything. I'm going to wait for the results to see whether it's possible or if it's too polluted. So there's a huge question mark.
For now, health authorities have simply reminded citizens of long-standing recommendations, such as washing hands regularly and avoiding fruit or leafy vegetables grown locally. An investigation into the effects of the flood will be launched later this year. Until then, doubt lingers over the extent to which the residents are exposed.